Okay, good morning everyone. As the title suggests, what I want to talk to you today about the opportunity I think that printers are really missing. Everybody talks about web to print, but nobody really talks about print to web and how printers can take control of media, actually start converting that into digital media, and actually take some control back from agencies and people like that, and create some real revenue for their business. But part of the issue is we have to think very differently. We have to not necessarily think like printers, and actually the sales process that we employ is really, really critical. So I'll be talking about some of those things as we go through. Here's the number one problem in the industry at the moment. We've recently done surveys this year for one other kind of trade show, and these are the results that are coming back. And it leads to this as the biggest problem in the industry is profitable growth. That's what everybody is struggling with, to one extent or another. We can see up the top there in terms of revenues, there are print companies actually increasing revenue, but about 80% of the industry, or 60%, are actually static. They're not growing, and we can see that 22% are actually declining their revenues. But it isn't all about revenue, it's about profit. That's what we're all after in this industry, is profit. Prices. We're seeing raw materials going up. We're seeing continually that prices are decreasing. We're getting pressure from customers to reduce our prices all of the time. 38% are seeing a decline in prices. So they're struggling to get new business, and the business they've got is being commoditized. It's being reduced in price. But the biggest worrying factor is down here. 43% of people saw a decline in their margins. So it's really difficult for printers to increase the profitability of their business. The number two problem, as I see it, there is a huge amount of fear out there with print companies to just do something different with their business, to actually embrace digital media and new services and create new opportunity for the business, but also for their customers. Now, if you look at some stats here, the Chinese e-commerce market is forecast to triple by 2020. US e-commerce is growing at 8% a year. We live in a world that is driven by e-commerce. Everybody here, I'm sure, does some kind of shopping online. You know, whether it's grocery shopping, whether it's shopping off Amazon for books or furniture or whatever. The world is driven by data, statistics, and e-commerce. The print industry's version of e-commerce is digital storefronts and web to print. 51% of the industry, depending on which stats you look at, have got a web to print system or a digital storefront. But in our survey, only 14% of companies had more than 25% of their turnover going through a web to print system. What that tells me is we are completely out of sync with what's going on in the world. Commercially, it's all about e-commerce, and we're not good at it. And most of that business going through web to print systems are very low cost jobs, low value jobs, low run jobs that are hard to make money out of. So we've got to think differently about how we can react to this major trend that's going on. And I think that actually if we think of it the other way round and we think about print to web, we've got a real lifeline here of what we can do. Now, think about this. What is it that we're good at, and what do we get from our customers generally? We get print-ready PDFs that are approved, that are signed off, that we're given to print a job with. Well, what an opportunity that is. We have a PDF that contains images, contains text, it contains a variety of information. We can actually take that PDF and we can strip that PDF out. We can make it interactive. We can insert video in it. We can take images, we can put them into digital asset management systems. We can take elements, let's say, from a brochure, We can put it online. We can start using it in social media. We can repurpose information. We've got the tools there. We're great generally in this industry at managing files. We're good at managing color. We're good at managing content. But all we do is think about it in a very focused way, a very narrow focused way that is just about producing print. If we just take the information we've got and the tools and we think about how we can repurpose that, it opens a whole new raft of possibilities that most print companies just aren't even thinking about exploiting at the moment. It's new revenue, it's new avenues for customers. The big problem around this, it's not necessarily difficult to do, it's printers are really, and I won't say this too loud, rubbish at sales and marketing. They really are. They're absolutely rubbish at it. If you, in the last survey we did, the #1 problem, apart from the profitability, was actually sales. We don't have the right sales staff. We can't get customers to commit to things, etc. So how do people normally sell? I'll tell you, because we consult with print companies day in, day out, and we look at how we can improve their business. What they do is they work with a prospect list, and they ring people up or send out brochures, and they hope to go and get a meeting and stand in front of a client, and what do we do then? We sell him a product. That's what we try and do. We sell him a product. So if I'm sat in front of a customer and I'm trying to sell him a 32-page brochure or a large format poster or whatever it might be, and I tell him what we can do, what is the only reaction I can get? Hands up. It's, yes, I use posters, I use brochures. What is it going to cost? Printers complain all the time that clients drive price down. It's all about price. When we have a sales conversation like this, it's the printer who makes it about price. It's not the client generally, because the client has nothing else to say other than, yeah, okay, well look, this is what we produce, give me a price on it. So already we've got the wrong conversation, we're just talking about commodity. In order to have a different conversation, we have to think differently about the product we're producing and how we sell it to the client. Now, sales, good sale, is all about context. I was reading a story about Lou Grade, who's a kind of television entrepreneur and impresario in the UK. And he had a young guy hassling him, wanted to get into sales. And in the end, he said, yeah, okay, bring the guy in, I'll give him an interview. And he had a pitcher of water on the table, and he pushed it across the table, and he said, sell me that pitcher of water. And this young guy looked at him, and he went over to the corner, he picked up a waste bin that was full of discarded documents, and he put it on the desk, and he got his lighter out, and he lit it. And he said, how much do you want to buy this pitcher of water for? This was a few years ago with smoke alarms, not a good thing to do these days. I wouldn't recommend it. But the point is, he changed the whole context of the conversation. He didn't have to sell the attributes of the pitcher or the water. It was creating a need. It was creating a desire, and therefore the client gets engaged. It's the same if you go into a restaurant. You look at the wine menu. You've decided, want a nice bottle of wine with my meal. You look at it, and the first thing you see is an $80 bottle of wine. You think, oh, wow, crikey, that's expensive. You go down. Once you see a bottle for 25 euros, for example, you then go, oh, wow, that looks really good value compared to the $80 bottle, so I'll buy that. Irrespective, it might be 5 times what you normally pay for a bottle of wine. It's all about the context. What we're selling when we look at taking print and taking it to the web, etc., is selling things that people don't necessarily know they can have or they need. We have to create this context in order to sell these things effectively. So, we always talk to people when we're talking about sales and marketing about what's in the room. Do you think that when you're going to go into a client that he's kind of waiting for you to come in the room. He's all excited about another sales guy coming in to pitch sales products and brochures and things like that. No, not really. If you get that opportunity, most people think they're starting on a level playing field with a client. They're actually starting down here somewhere, because there's already these stereotypical perceptions of what print is, of what a salesperson is, of what's going to happen in that meeting. I mean, if I say to you guys things like local builder or insurance salesman, you've already got a picture in your mind of what these people are. Local builders, they let you down, they cut corners, you know, they're difficult to deal with, they lie to you, they don't finish the job on. People have the same perceptions about print and print companies. And we have to change that. And if you go in with the normal sales process and you walk through the door and you talk about my new press, you talk about the products you can do, you just start to go down here. The conversation just gets worse and worse. Because the guy you're sitting in front of doesn't want to buy print. He's not interested in that. What he wants is results for his business. He wants to do more with his marketing budget. He wants to look good in front of his bosses. He wants to make money for his business. So unless you can have a conversation that starts talking about value instead of price and commodity and normal products, these meetings tend to end in a bad place. You walk away thinking you're going to get an order. You then can't get the guy on the phone after that. You put a quote in and it never materializes into an order. So we have to think very differently about this. So what do all companies out there in this global economy want now? Whether you're a big international brand or a smaller company, what's the one thing that they're after? It's commercial outcomes. That's what they're interested in. I was speaking to a print company a couple of months ago. The guy there said, I've done 5 quotes this morning. I would normally expect to get at least three orders out of that, and I haven't got any. His first reaction was, I need to look at my pricing. And I said, well, how do you know that those jobs have actually been printed? Because a lot of buyers now, a lot of marketing people will get a price for print, for email, for various channels, and they'll decide on what is going to be the most effective starting point. They may come back to print at a later point. They might start off with an SMS campaign or an email campaign, but it's how you build those things up. So, you know, print is just part of this mix now, and we have to accept it, and we have to embrace the fact that we need to engage with other kind of technologies. Otherwise, we're going to be sidelined. So what are the 2 biggest customer complaints about print companies? They're not prepared to add value, so they want to sell product on their terms. They're not really interested about my business and what I'm trying to achieve. And the second one is they don't listen, because they're too busy trying to sell things. The first rule in selling anything, and especially print and digital media, is shut up and listen. Because if you don't understand what the customer's trying to achieve, there is no way that you can actually sell him something that he's willing to and prepared to pay more money for, that creates some value for his business. 2 very basic things, but people don't do it. So, to get a sales decision, the process, and especially when we're talking now about not print, but integrating other kind of channels with print, and taking your PDF, creating an email campaign maybe from it, repurposing content for the web, etc. Here's your customer over here and your printers over here. And we have this fulcrum in the middle. Now, from the customer's perspective, he's interested in the time that he's going to have to invest in anything, the money, the potential risk. What if this goes wrong? What's my boss going to say? What if we lose money on something? And the whole effort involved. In the middle here, what we have to consider is, Is what we're saying really clear? Is the proposition really clear? Can we provide some proof points, some case studies to show that this actually works? And is it unique? And have we got enough of a desire, created enough of a desire for the customer to actually go along with it? Now, if you go in and sell a product, unless it's the right price, the seesaw tips over this way. The job as a printer is to get as many points of value on this side of the equation that it tips in our favor. Once you start doing that, you start nullifying all of the issues over here for the customer. Now, there is a process for this. Whenever I go into print companies and I say to them, tell me about your sales process around print and around digital media, I would say that 9.99% of them have no sales process. So we said earlier, they just go out, they knock on doors, they sell print. Now, we have a process that works, that actually, if you follow it and do it properly, the right amount of discipline, you get great results. And we've done this with a lot of companies, so we know it works. Step one is market research. How many people have we got here who are actually printers? Oh, we've got a couple. Do you have a business intelligence market research aspect of your business? It's okay, you can say no, but I mean, yeah, that's fine. The point is, we have a theory we call short fuse, big bang. There's stuff going on out there, right, within your customers, within your markets. We were working with a customer in Singapore. They were doing work for the computer games industry. They'd been working for about 12, 15 years, producing packaging and collaterals for that market. It was actually growing hugely. They were producing 10, 12 color packaging with foiling and all sorts of stuff. Big profit margin, great opportunity, fantastic. Bang, 18 months, all went into the cloud. All streamed, packaging disappeared, $30 million worth of business gone. And I said, why did you not see this coming? You know, we all stream stuff now. We all go online for stuff. What happened? Because you weren't following what your customers were doing. You weren't tracking the markets. You weren't understanding what those customers needed. Now, they could have positioned themselves to be looking at print, because there's still some of it going on, but what was happening with streaming and digital media, and actually looking again at taking the raw components of design and print, but actually how can we repurpose that? How can we get into the streaming, the online marketing, and so on and so forth? But they missed a trick completely. So you need to start doing some research. Bigger companies have departments who do this. So they start looking at research on markets, customers, and so on and so forth. So that's really important, because if you don't know what's going on, you can't have a conversation with a client that's meaningful. So a business intelligence workflow looks something like this. You do your market research and your trends. You understand the pain points. What's going on in those markets? What are people struggling with? What do they need solutions for? Because there's not a customer out there who's sitting wondering where to get a good poster done or a great t-shirt or a brochure. They're actually wondering about business issues and how they can solve those. Then from the pain points, we need to understand how we put some kind of solutions together, how we bring that together. So what do people need with print, with digital media? How do we integrate a solution that we can go and sell that creates some real value for the business? And quite often, one thing leads to another, and it becomes part of a campaign. But it's then critical that we review and we analyze what's happening, so we can do other research. We can add value to the customer's business. So, when we start looking at kind of headaches and pain points, these are the kind of things that we should be looking for. So we really can understand and focus in on how we can help people with supply chain inefficiencies probably, declining profits or sales. They're not getting the right kind of marketing results, etc. So these are easily identified if you get into the customer's world, but not enough people do that. Now I ask people about, which trade mags do they read, which conferences do they go to? And printers come to things like FESPA and Drupa and so on and so forth, which is fine. But actually, they should be going to their customers' conferences in financial and pharmaceutical and things like that, because that's when you learn what's going on in the industry. Print Week's a great mag, but you won't find out anything about financial and pharmaceutical in there. You need to be reading your customers' trade mags and immerse yourself in their world. That's when you find out what's going on. And triggering events. This is absolutely key. If a new marketing director is going to be appointed at a company, generally that will be advertised in one of their trade mags, if it's a more major company. You can actually find these things out by looking on their websites and so on and so forth. But if there's a new marketing guy coming in, what's the first thing he's going to want to do? He's going to want to change things. He may want to bring in a new roster of suppliers. He might want to change the mix of print and digital media and things like that. You want to have a conversation with him the week after he gets into post, not 6 months later, when he's already got his roster of new suppliers. And I'll give you an example of the importance of this. We're working with a company in Singapore at the moment, and we were looking at the shipping industry. And we just cut out of the Straits Times, the newspaper there, a piece of information that said they were bringing in internet access to within 15 kilometers of the shore. So any boat that came within 15 kilometers of the island actually got internet access straight away. And if you've been to Singapore, there's hundreds of ships all docked out at sea. So what does that mean? What does that mean? Actually, what it means is if you're printing the logbooks for the ships that come in to shore, and they all have to change their logbook when they come into shore, they have to change and check the health and safety regulations and signage, you can get to those people 15 kilometers out before they've even docked. So you could send them a digital logbook that could be uploaded to that ship. You could send digital information from health and safety issues and stuff like that. You maybe have a printed logbook that you deliver as well. But what we found was, further research, there was 230 shipping lines out there with thousands of ships. Those ships docked there, but they also docked in Mumbai and all over the world, which meant that there was translation possibilities. There was the ability to create an app for each ship or for each shipping line. Huge amount of possibilities just coming out of one piece of information that allowed us to trigger a whole chain reaction around print and around digital media, and things that could change the whole dynamic, give us a different conversation. So again, these are other triggering events, things like bad publicity, declining growth, new growth plans, opening new franchise businesses, things like that. They're all indications of opportunity. Now, within this, you have to start identifying ideal clients, because people don't believe this, but if you look at your customer base, 20% of your clients give you 80% of your profit. Thereabouts. If you go and have a look, you'll find that that's true. And 80% of your clients give you 20% of your profit. What you want is more of those and less of those. Unless you do that research, you identify what people are doing, what they need in terms of print, digital media, the different channels that they're using, you can get the wrong clients. Now, in terms of printers, you look at the stats out there, 25% of the print companies, the real innovators, the leading edge ones, are taking virtually 100% of the profits out there. They're really expanding their business and making money, and have done right through the recession, and will continue to do so because they have good research, they have a good sales process, and everything else embedded in their business. So step 2, it's really identifying your ideal clients and how do we get more of them. And the 5-50-55 rule applies. 5% of your customers basically give you 50% of your sales. And 50% give you 5%. A lot of low-run, low-value jobs that you don't make money out of. So it's really understanding what's going on in your business. So when we profile clients, we always suggest that you look at 3 or 4 vertical markets maximum. Really understand what's going on in them, who your customers are, how you can offer some really good, different solutions. But within those clients, there's different buying influences. Because if you've got a project, certainly that's got any value to it, the financial director is going to get involved and make a decision in that. The marketing director might be there, could be a procurement director. We've got to think about who's going to influence decisions and how we can actually offer something for all of these people. So how we can offer cost saving, for example, for a financial director, how we can increase responses for a marketing director, use one PDF, develop that content into different channels so people can do more with their marketing budget. So really understanding the dynamics of those people and offering something for each of them is really important. So the first meeting, we're on step 4 and we haven't got in front of a client yet. Because if you haven't done the first 3 steps, you haven't got a conversation to have. It will always end up on price. So we've said, don't get in front of the client till you've got a conversation, you know his market, you know what to talk to him about. So step 4, the first meeting, we're not going to sell product, we're not even going to talk about it. It's about fact-finding. It's understanding the pains and gains. It's talking about what you can do, maybe through case studies and things like that. It's identifying key stakeholders, and it's then lining up the second meeting. So we've really focused on what we can offer, roughly what we're talking about, but we need to understand what the client wants. So step 5 is to go back. It's additional research maybe, outline a solution, satisfy the buying influences so we don't get objections from the IT director because we're talking about digital media and he's not going to allow us to get stuff on his website or whatever it might be. And then points of differentiation. How are we different to other print companies that are going to be in there? How can we manage that process more effectively? And it always helps to have some good case studies that you can throw in to show how you've done this for other companies. And then step 6 is the second meeting. So we're then putting together a really quite refined outline proposal of what we can do for the client, and that's usually now around print and digital media. We're then looking to establish a budget for the client. How much money you've got to spend on this. You don't want to be wasting your time and you don't want to be wasting his time either. So we then put together the outline costs and in principle kind of get a sign off that actually we're doing the right thing. So if you're a marketing director, if we could take your print ready PDF, print something for you, we could repurpose that content for your website, we could take something out of that and use it on your blog, we could use that in social media, etc. Is this something that's going to be of interest? Are you ready to go? So if we get that sign off in principle, the third meeting is really the final pitch. It's a completely costed solution. It's about a longer term relationship with the client. We've covered off the technical issues. We're ready to convert an order. We might think about doing a pilot project to justify that to the client. But basically, you can nail this down in 3 meetings. And, okay, sometimes it will take longer, but if you get the research right, your proposition is compelling enough, you can do this that easily, that quickly. We've done it with numerous amount of clients. And then step 8 is actually looking at a customer strategy going forward. So that's being able to come up with new ideas for the client. Partnership working, what are the issues that the client has got They involve you in a conversation much earlier. And then it's around tactical business intelligence about the solutions that you're providing. So the solution services then start to kind of expand from just taking a print PDF and actually just producing a print job. We're now maybe doing interactive PDFs and incorporating video. We're repurposing that content, maybe just directly to the web, maybe over a series of different channels. We can get into copywriting from there, creative design, data cleansing, email, SMS, all sorts of different things that are just spin-offs of that, which traditionally other agencies and people are dealing with. But actually, it's relatively easy for printers to take control of a whole range of different services because they've actually got the main data. They've got the PDF that they can work with in the first place. It's just exploiting those opportunities. So we lay out a kind of process which is really around the research side of the process. So your target markets, you're identifying your clients, profiling them, different solutions and how we brainstorm that. And then we actually go into the sales process as well. And actually, if you get a whole sales team following the same process and you're collecting information, you're continually trying to refine proposals and propositions with that, you're doing things that are relevant to the customer's business and in his world, it makes an enormous difference. People have a proper sales plan that they can work to. And clients more and more want that. They want a partnership relationship. So this is really what clients want. They only want two real things from you. They want insights, education, research, and best practice. A lot of companies out there are really struggling now with print and digital media. The obvious thing to them is, let's cut costs and do it with digital media, not do print. Actually, they can do both. They can do the thing that makes the most sense. So it's really educating them. It's showing them research, what the market's doing, what the issues are. And then it's working together on a common goal. You want to improve your marketing. You want to get more from your marketing spend. This is how we can do it. This is how we can maximize the potential of the content. Whichever way you go on those things, it creates value for the client. And once you start getting something that then goes across multiple channels, it's very hard for the client to replicate it, and it's very hard for the client to unpick it in terms of the cost of the components. And if you've created enough value, cost becomes less and less of an issue. We get away from that commodity, but all we're doing is essentially using the raw components that we've always dealt with as print companies. But we're just thinking a bit differently, and we've got a process and a structure behind it. So, that was me. If you got any questions, more than happy to answer them. I've been in print for 35 years. I believe printers have a real fantastic opportunity to do more with their business, adapt, grow, and make a lot of money. We work with companies where we've turned their business round. They're on huge growth paths now, just by thinking differently, doing things differently, and not being scared to add some new services, and basically unburden themselves of what people think traditionally a printer should be. It's all about just thinking differently and having a different process for your business. So thank you for listening.